Imagine a world where luxury meets adventure and every journey feels like a masterpiece. Welcome aboard Motor Yacht Unbridled, an exceptional charter experience where every detail is tailored to your desires. From thrilling water sports to moments of pure relaxation, every day brings new horizons. Step into the future of chartering aboard Unbridled. Available now.
But top of the morning or afternoon, depends on where you are, folks. My name's Captain Liam, Motor Yacht Unbridled, 191 Trinity, currently in Sitka, Alaska, with mountains around us full of ice caps and salmon boats. And we've got the honour of having Kevin O'Connor from Cookson Adventures joining us. Thank you, Kevin. How are you?
I'm well, Liam. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure, pleasure. We go way back. We've seen each other on the docks a bunch of years.
Absolutely.
Excellent. And we just met at Antigua Charter Show where we did a seminar there, correct?
Yeah, that was great fun. Very informational seminar. I think
Yeah. So how you been since then? Where you been?
I've been great. Busy season, and it looks like you've covered some miles as well. But I've been between London and West Palm and Monaco and back to West Palm, working with Cookson Adventures.
Awesome, awesome. And the reason we're in contact is I've got a lot of clients that call me up about Alaska, but I'm finding every one of these brokers and clients that have got questions are trying to make more and more out of their trips. So that we've got I do the itineraries and all that for them, and we customize it to what they want to see from the vessel's perspective. But each time now, and it's changed over the years in yachting, they're asking for what else can we do? And that's where Cookson comes in. Because your kind of company create these, exclusive luxury tours. So just explain to the audience kind of what Cookson does and how it's an add-on to all charters.
Yeah, absolutely. So Cookson essentially is a luxury adventure travel company. We do a range of different kind of trips, land-based, space-based now, and I'm the head of yachts. So any trip that's going to be yacht based as the main platform, I oversee. And we have a couple different types of clients when it comes to the yachting industry. Is either an owner who's going to a new place and wants to really dig in culturally, or add a layer of conservation in. We will work with them. And then also we've got clients that call it don't own a yacht and would like to go, let's say, to Papua New Guinea or someplace, and we will vet and find, the proper yacht for them for that trip. And then we really like to get to know the owner as well, or the clients. So we spend a lot of time getting kind of underneath the top 3 or 4 layers and learn what they really like to do and what makes them tick. And we then will build a trip around that. And like I said earlier, we'll try to add, some conservation element into it, bring a scientist or work with local wildlife areas.
Yeah, it's really important. As the yachts have got bigger and we're going to more and more remote places, it actually is, I've got to be transparent, it's getting harder and harder to kind of give these clients new experiences. And that's where Cookson comes in. It's like we've got a client asking they really want to see Glacier Bay, but we've got an itinerary which doesn't really take us near Glacier Bay. So we're kind of working with you on a seaplane and a helicopter and local shoreside things to fulfill that day. When you talk about charters, when you talk about clients and owners, do you see many of your clients in the charter field or private, or it's both, correct? 50-50?
It's both, but I would say the majority of our bigger yacht trips are charter based, whether there's only a handful of boats, let's say, that go to Antarctica every year. And most owners, it's really not worth the time and the money to get the boat down there if they don't charter, unless they're very particular about wanting their boat in Antarctica.
Yeah.
You've only got a handful of boats to work with. So we found even yacht owners, if their yacht's in the Med and they want to do Alaska, we'll show them some examples like Unbridled that's there in the summer and some of the other boats, and try to get them on there. And that way.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got one who wants to do a dive expedition up here, and I'm kind of like, let's kind of lead towards, some submarines and work with on getting some submarines up here rather than the diving, because it's a little bit cold up in these.
Absolutely. No, we do quite a bit of work with with personal subs, we had a client who had just a sub. And so he would loved submarines, bought a sub, and then we would have to find a suitable boat. And it was one of these big U-boat works,
Oh,
seven
yeah.
passenger,
Yeah.
10-ton, big sub. And so we would find charter boats. And even one time we had to upgrade the crane on one of these boats that we chartered just for the sub. But we do work with Triton and U-boat works closely because submarines are just they open up a whole new world to people that aren't divers, and even the ones that are divers. These things go super deep, and you're able to go down there and really explore parts of the ocean that you'd never dreamed seeing or swimming in. So we do organize a lot of sub stuff with these local companies and people that have their own personal ones.
True. I think what sets Cookson's about is the kind of network you've created. So you're not just sending the sub, you're sending people or you're sending guides that can navigate the crew side of things and the guest side of things. That's something we've talked about before. So when your guides come, they usually try and manage the different experiences, correct? To make sure the client gets the most out of them. Or how does it work with the crew and the guides?
Absolutely.
Like to
Well,
give a background to things.
yeah, so we operate all over the world, and we obviously don't have staff all over the world. So we've got a huge network of people on the ground in different locations. And if we're going someplace new, what we'll do is we'll always send a project manager or myself ahead of time and do what we call a recce. And we'll go and do the entire trip, shake every hand, open every door, so that we know that when the trip comes with the client, that everything's going to go smoothly. We also send a member usually of the team with the client,
Yeah.
usually the project manager, to host. And it's a great way to be able to mesh with the crew, as we like to be part of the yacht crew and not a hindrance or in the way. We like to be an extra arm for the captain and for the stewardesses and the deckhands, just to help them out. I mean, we're not there to take over because it's a collaborative effort. So we
Yeah.
work real hard with yacht crew to make sure that they understand that we're there to back them up and not, you know, take
I
over
think
their.
I think that's the value of having you in that role there too, Kevin, because you've got that experience, you understand. Whereas a lot of shoreside companies that I've worked with in the past just can't fathom the idea you're on a boat and you've got to tender ashore and the logistics and the timing, the extra 15, 20 minutes it takes, the movement and the delay. Sometimes these guests say they want 1 o'clock, but they actually doesn't evolve to like 3 o'clock, and you have to manage those expectations.
Absolutely, and a lot about your and I's or my old job and your current job is like you kind of have to roll with what's going on, especially in Alaska with the weather.
Yeah.
You never know what you're going to get, and so you have to have a backup to a backup plan every time, and you just got to be able to move. And the more people are on the same side of things, the easier it's going to be.
Yeah, exactly. And what partnerships do you look for locally? Do you kind of go through government organizations or non-for-profits? Because we work with seakeepers quite a lot, and we've found they've had great access to resources.
Yep, Seakeepers is one of our bigger partners. We work closely with Seakeepers, and when we were talking about conservation, obviously they've got the network of scientists and people, doing projects in far off places. So when we find out, hey, we're gonna have a trip, let's say in the Galapagos,
Yes.
we will talk to Seakeepers, see if if they have anything that is on their agenda. But we do also work with the government organizations, especially in the Galapagos, actually. So there's a couple islands there that are off limits to tourism,
Mm.
even yachts. And what we've come up with is we negotiated some access that no one else can really have as kind of a hey, we'll help you. You can
Research permit.
use our helicopters, and there's actually a great story that they with the tortoises, since they're endangered, when they find an egg, they'll bring them back to the laboratory,
Oh, wow.
and so that they're not eaten by a predator. And then when they're 3 months old, they have to chuck him in a backpack and hike up to the top of the volcano with the tortoise and put him down where he or she normally would be. So what we've done is, if they allow us to use a heli so we can go up around the volcano, we'll give 10 tortoises a ride to the top. Yeah.
What a
We
start.
do work closely, and it's always one of those things where our footprint that we leave is usually less, or it's in a better place than when we found it. We don't have high impact and then just disappear. All the money goes directly, if it's a donation, directly to what they see.
Yeah. And what's the history of Cookson out of interest? What's the background? Like how many years or?
Cookson's been around for 15 years, and it was started by Henry Cookson, a British explorer, and he has a Guinness Book of World Records for crossing. I think it's the widest part of Antarctica. It's the
Oh,
pole of
wow.
accessibility, and he did it without assistance. So he had a kite ski up, and I think it took about 50 days, but don't quote me on that.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, yeah.
So he did that, and then he did another one up in the Arctic with, excuse me, Prince Harry, and then people started just catching on to what he was doing, and they were like, "Hey, if
We
we
want to
pay,
do this.
we want to do this, and if
Yeah.
we pay you, can you come up with these great trips like you're doing yourself?" And it's kind of how it started. So it grew organically, and his network is incredibly strong. He's one of our best sales guys, and
I'm sure.
he's out there all the time, and a lot of it is word of mouth. I'd say 90% of our clients are all referred from other clients.
Yeah, well, I'm there because of you, Kevin. I mean, you brought me to Cookson Tours in a sense. I've known you, and that's
Absolutely.
that's that word of mouth kind of relationship
It
in
is.
how it works. Here's another question for you because you've come from both sides. You've seen the yachting side as a captain yourself. You've seen, the shore side of things in the yachting industry, and now you're in the adventure kind of industry, or bespoke experiences. What's a must-have on yachts that, from your now new role or your new experience with Cookson, you think people are starting to ask for? Like you're seeing subs, and I'm like, yeah, I'm thinking subs. What are you seeing are the must-haves now?
In all honesty, obviously all boats aren't the same,
Yeah,
can't all have a helipad, right? But if they could, I would always say that the best tender on a yacht is a helicopter, just because of how much it opens up for
yeah,
exploring and adventures. You can get, all the way inland, and there's just so much more you can explore with a heli. That being said, if you don't have a helicopter, we still set up in local places where the heli can follow along, your itinerary on land. So there's different ways to do it.
yeah.
Subs is another one. I think just the toys in general that can go under and up are always, the best.
The big add-ons.
That and sea bobs. I don't know why I love sea bobs, because you can
Yeah, well, it's
there's
come a long
cruise
way
with
since the
dolphins.
slides. Remember, slides were the
I
biggest
do.
in yachting, and it's like all of a sudden it's helicopters, subs. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What about you? What is if you could do anything on your boat right now, or any boat?
I'd say chopper too. I worked on Triton, a 50-meter delta, 49-meter delta, 499 gross tons, and we had a chopper and we went through the Pacific. And that would pick up guests in the morning. We'd always do this breakfast on a cliff. So we'd find the highest
Yeah.
mountain we could find, take the chopper straight up there for breakfast, like 7, 8 o'clock, and the crew would set it up. The guests would arrive, and then it'd just be like a little short 10-minute walk to get away from the rotors and the wind, and it'd just be like, that's breakfast on top of a mountain.
Yeah, it doesn't get much nicer than that.
It doesn't.
Sunrise, and that's kind of what I mean. It opens a whole new door to, you can explore really easily up ahead of clients. If you're looking for spots, there's just so many tools that it opens up to. So
But then
heli,
another one now that's changed us in yachting is, believe it or not, is Starlink, because what it's
right?
done is give us so much access to data and information now. What we like to do is with our tender, with our 42 HCB, we've got blink cameras on it, which is an easy home brand, but we set it all up. So the clients, when their crew where the guests are going out fishing, like the children are going out fishing, we set up the camera and stream it live to one of the
Oh,
TVs. So
awesome.
the principal guests just sit and actually watch what's happening ashore without even having to go ashore.
Yeah,
And
that's
it's
pretty amazing.
becoming more and more interactive with clients because they're like, okay, we don't have to go on the tender. The tender's out there fishing. They've got a fish. Uh,
They're having fun. We're having fun, and everyone's
yeah,
relaxed.
rather
Yeah,
than waiting for 3 hours to come back, did you catch anything? There's kind of got this automatic voice activated. Are you all right? Do you want anything? Do you want us to send another tender? Are you all good? That's changed the interactions because they want that immediate.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it also that plays into a lot of the marketing for charter,
Yeah.
in my opinion, is you can show more real life stuff that people can actually see instead of, some fancy, which is always great, nice videos that have content of beautiful
Yeah.
earrings and all that. I mean, it's catchy, but if you can show real life stuff, people can tend to make a decision probably a little bit easier.
Yeah, it's also like, what's it like? What's it like for the dive? You send a camera down. What's it like on the shore hike? You show a little video of a crew member going there last week, and this is the hike. You know, hopefully the crew
It's
don't get too close to the bears though, and they say, "How close can you get to the bears?" You know.
That's true. You don't want to get too close. There's up in Alaska, there's the Great Bear Rainforest where we run a lot of trips as well. And we've used a local boat called the Yellowfin
Okay.
and Pacific Yellowfin. And there's spirit bears where it's the big white bears out in the Great Bear Rainforest. And it's a really unique spot. And Henry and some of the other guys spend quite a bit of time up there. So there is a lot more than just the regular cruising from Juneau to in Alaska, where you can do some tandem 1 week on a yacht, 1 week in a lodge, because there's some beautiful lodges up there as well, and you
Yeah.
can get a different kind of experience too.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing with adding helicopters and people like yourselves. The crew get expanded. The area can expand 300 miles almost with different fueling stops. Because we're just doing the circular Juno, but the guests want to see something different. They can go all the way to Ketchikan, just do the chopper for the day and come
Absolutely.
back. You know what I mean? So it does open
Yep.
it up. What other things are you seeing in yachting now that have changed over the last couple of 12 months?
I think we're noticing a younger crowd, a whole new generation
Okay.
that's joining, and they're not the typical, itinerary Caribbean med. They want to go and travel with a purpose is kind of what we're calling it,
All right.
because it's experience based. They want to do something that's experience over the asset, and they want to go someplace that no one's been, and they want the real interaction culturally. So
Yeah.
we've done a trip in Papua New Guinea recently, which was definitely exciting. It was one of the first times there. We've scheduled some trips for Timor-Leste or East Timor.
Oh, fantastic.
Gorgeous place, and I have never been, but when I'm looking over these itineraries and seeing the whale migrations, I mean, it's absolutely, there's so many stunning places that just don't have the infrastructure, but that's kind of where we thrive in those areas of low infrastructure and just kind of make it as real as possible.
Well, it's definitely important because, a lot of times, captains, we don't have the tools. Like you've been in this role that I'm in now. We have access to the tools now with companies like yourselves, but traditionally it was always us going there to find a spot to speak to an agent. It would just take us days and weeks and months to get anything organized before the trip. But now we're expected to do back-to-back charters, get straight
Yep.
into it. We just don't have the time allocated to develop those local relationships.
Yeah, and we've got those, we nurture those relationships on a constant basis. It's essentially that network is what makes these trips happen.
Yeah.
And we can really be a good asset to captains or fleet managers to work with them. We're not trying to replace their experience and firsthand knowledge. We're just there so that they can focus on operational
Yeah.
instead of having phone calls every 2 minutes with agents and local people. We're there to take that over
Well,
essentially.
that's what I'm trying to do with Unbridled here, move our platform forward, charter objectives, because I'm discussing with people like yourself and Cookson and then charter brokers and say, look, not just book the charter. When you book that charter, please give me the opportunity to try
Yeah,
and encourage the clients. Who are they? What do they want to get out of it? Here's the questions I've got. Don't just wait for them to show up on the dock and then expect me to pull out miracles. That's the way it used to work. The way it
yeah,
needs to work now is our clients are a lot more engaged in the itineraries and they want to know exactly what the plan is each day. And I thrive in that because it gives us an opportunity to say, okay, now we can plan the day. We're going to go for a hike up here. We'll set up lunch up the creek, kayak back down, for example. We've got time to plan. So I think for me, our clients are the charter brokers and people like yourselves that can give us tools to succeed.
no, absolutely. And the forward thinking is important. And you exactly hit what Cookson does is we want to get to know them. And I know a lot of people, whether it's brokers who are afraid that we're talking directly to a client,
Yeah.
or it's an industry where people have close guarded secrets, and I feel like no one's unless you ask them what they want to do, how they operate, you'll never really give them an experience that they'll walk away from going, wow, that was, a once in a lifetime thing. That was really
Yeah.
cool. I want to do it again somewhere
Yeah.
else.
And it's trust and it's the confidentiality too. Like you've obviously
Yes.
built that reputation with Cookson and us on Unbridled with the charter brokers. I said, they are your clients. They're not my clients. It's my
Yeah.
duty of care to look after them and the Cookson to give them a good experience. But the charter brokers, they're your clients. Let me know how I can help. And how I can help is just give me access to them to get information. And our chef has the same thing. Our chief steward has the same thing. The more we get, the better we can succeed, you
No,
know?
absolutely. And that brings up a great point because I know that a lot of our competition or people in the adventure expedition space are also brokers.
Yeah.
Um, Cookson is not. So we've stayed completely separate and independent. We want to work with all brokers, and we've purposely stayed out of becoming an agent or a retail agent or a central agent to make sure that we can work with all the brokers out there without any fear of,
Yeah.
them getting cut out at some point.
Oh, conflict of interest. That's what's good about my role as a captain. I'm like, I can work with all brokers, or
Yeah.
with all travel agencies and so forth. But I usually try and cap it about 15, 20 minutes. I know we could go on longer and we'll probably end up chatting a lot longer after the call as well there, Kevin. But how can people find you? How can people find about Cookson?
Well, you can go to we have a great website,
Yep.
Cookson Adventures
So,
.com, and then we've also got, I'd say my favorite is the Instagram handle, like at Cookson Adventures, and we put reels up, and that's the other thing about Cookson is our content is all made in-house. So every picture, every video you see on the website is taken on one of our trips by our photographers, and we have the capacity to send media teams. And so even with confidentiality, we obviously have a ton of content and we can never use
yeah.
that belongs to owners, but we also on our recce's or before and after, we stay and try to get as much content as possible so that we can use that for marketing.
Yeah,
So got
absolutely.
awesome content on Instagram.
Well, it's a content-driven world these days. A lot of times, because people want to experience as close as they can. We have a good videographer on board, and a photographer, and really the clients are starting to demand a bit more from the crew pictures. Or the end of the charter used to be like a 30-minute, well, not a 30-minute, 30-second, 1 minute.
Yeah,
Now it's like 5 minutes. Now we have to make customized reels and
yeah.
feed vertical, horizontal. The videographer on board's kind of like, okay, what's the demands here? What does everyone need? Vertical, horizontal, YouTube shorts. What are we doing here? And the guests of different ages really start to engage.
And because they're posting live, and showing
Yeah.
all their friends at home. And we've even got clients that we make documentaries for. Like they
Oh,
are
wow.
legitimately like straight out of National Geographic,
That's
and
a
it's
good idea.
documentary, and we follow the format, and some of these documentaries are exquisite.
Of
And
their experience. Oh, you planted a seed there. I'm sure I'm going to chat to the videographer after this and say,
yeah,
look, I've got a
absolutely.
challenge for you. you know?
It's a great challenge because it comes out really well for them. It makes their like memories of their trip something that they can then show friends. And it's not, hey, look at the pictures of our trip. It's like, hey,
Exactly.
look at how we relocated this rhino.
Yeah.
Crazy
Look what we
stuff.
created. This is the story of the trip. I think
Right.
that's what people look for now is more the story of things more than the things themselves.
Absolutely. You
All
got to
right,
have a good
cool.
story.
And we both live in Jupiter at the moment, so I'm sure I'll see you around the neighbourhood.
Absolutely.
In
It's great
final
that,
closing, what's your favourite place then, or favourite story that you've been a part of creating? You mentioned the eggs in Galapagos. You mentioned Timor East.
yeah, probably my favorite trip that I was a part of was, well, two. Papua New Guinea was probably
Yeah,
up there just because it was so new and there's so many different cultures and tribes
yeah,
and languages that it was tricky. And then I'd say the Costa Rica Panama trip we did in January. We had multiple boats, one over 100 meters, and it was just a really cool program.
awesome.
So those are my favorites so far, but I'm sure I'll hopefully add Antarctica to that list.
Yeah, and also add Alaska. Hopefully get you up here to see the different bears, you know?
Absolutely.
Hopefully there's a client that says, I want to see all 4 different species of bears, the brown, the black, the white.
That'd be great.
And what was the other bear? The peace bear you mentioned?
The spirit bear. And
Spirit
it's like
bear.
a rare white bear that's like a grizzly type.
Oh, cool. I'll check it out. All right, mate. Well, thanks for your time. I really appreciate everything. Everyone be blessed, stay safe, and go to sea.